Coming to you live from the heart of Tyson's Corner, Virginia, it's Tuesday Morning Live with your hosts, Bryan McNamara and Bill Bolton.
Welcome, everybody, to an exciting episode of Tuesday Morning Live. This is a very special one. These are two of my very dearest friends, Corey Harris and Julie Traxler. They own quite a few companies, SB Pace, Certivium, and Corey. I don't know how you have this much time in one day, but you started a restaurant. So we're going to get to their topic in a few minutes, the messy middle. Once you start a company, you hit a plateau and it gets messy, the middle of the time of, beginning a company. How do you get out of that mess? How do you clean it up? How do you survive the entire situation? Before we get into that, let's say what's up to my cohort, Mr. Bryan McNamara. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing really fantastic. Thanks, Bill. I'm really looking forward. It's going to be a really, really good show.
We're not doing the cold thing again, are we?
Oh, no. I had a cold this week, and it's at the very end of it. I'm really glad. I'm hoping that next week to not have any cold at all. I'm really excited for this episode to talk to these guests. But before we do that, let's go ahead and give a shout out to the sponsors. Brand Ready Media. If you're looking for high quality video production to help market your business, then give the guys at Brand Ready a call. And BB Insurance. If you've got a business, then you know that protecting yourself is the utmost importance. Get insurance and get it the right way. Contact BB Insurance. All right, so I'm really excited for these guys. Let's go ahead and introduce them. We got Corey Harris and Julie Traxler, co-founded SB Pace, a firm with a passion for small businesses. Together, they wrote the best-selling book, Seriously, Now What? A Small Business Guide to Disaster Preparedness. They co-host a top-rated business podcast, a weekly live radio show, and have been listed on the Brains Magazine Global 500 list, which recognizes entrepreneurial success and dedication to helping others. They've published 200 plus articles helping entrepreneurs and have multiple digital courses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Corey and Julie. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us on, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. Corey, I've got a quick question for you. Somewhat restaurant related. When you go to your range, your stovetop, what burner do you go to first?
The front left.
Front left. All right. There's some poll that just came out. I'm a front right guy.
Yeah,
Is that because of the size or what's?
I don't know. I think it's every place that I've ever worked, it's always been the front left, and that's just kind of where it is, like where it's placed on the line, because it's on the right side of the line. So I got to be able to work the grill and the flat and the burners.
I think he was talking about your house.
No, he was talking about the restaurant.
Well, no. Well, it could be your house or the restaurant itself. Yeah. Not everybody owns a restaurant, Corey.
Sure, that's correct. Well, funny. So at my house, it's front right.
That's
I guess
interesting.
It depends on the application. I go both ways, Bill.
He was talking about that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Bill was telling me that you go both ways.
Yeah. Right or left, it doesn't matter.
Do y'all need me here, or should I just leave now?
Let's talk about the messy middle. So
Julie
and Corey.
Burner I use? I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, come on. Which burner do you use? What's your go-to burner, Julie?
Front right. Always. I don't know why, but front right.
Yeah, it's weird, right? I've always used the front left. Strange. So maybe it's a right brain, left brain creative thing. Maybe some people.
Well, I think it's just whatever's more convenient, honestly. If you have, to Corey's point, if you have all the rest of the hotline is right there on the side where that left burner is, use that. Most of my counter space is on the right-hand side, so I use that one. Anyway, so I do want to talk about the messy middle because my company is right in that space right now. I know Bryan's is also. So tell us, what is the messy middle, and how do you function, dealing with that issue?
So the messy middle is everything that happens between after the fun and excitement of starting your business occurs and before you've truly reached financial freedom, where you can pretty much do anything you want inside that business. For some people, it takes just a couple of months to hit the messy middle, and they're not in it for that long. Other people, they may not get to the messy middle for a couple of years, and they may sit there for like 5 or 6 years, but it is really, the messy middle is the part where most people quit.
What is the first step? What is the first thing that you need to look at when trying to get out of the messy middle?
The first place that I would start is just looking at, basically looking at what it is that you do throughout your day. Like understanding, like you wear all the hats, but you shouldn't be wearing all the hats. You need to learn how to delegate. And in order to do that, you need to be able to document what it is that you do. Find people who can do that, whether they already exist within your business or if you have to hire somebody, and then start training those people to do that work for you. Getting out of the messy middle, it's not free. It costs time, it costs money. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes clients have a problem working with us, because we tell them, like, yeah, you're already working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Guess what? You're going to have to tack on another 10, 15 a week to get yourself out of that. And they don't want to do that because they've got, other things going on in their life, or they don't have, they don't have the cash. And that's the big thing there is it's going to cost money. You're going to have to pay somebody, and they're not going to be productive for the first couple of months because they're just going to learn, they'll be learning the job. You might have to buy a new tool. So that's the problem right there, but it's really just understanding what it is that you're doing and what can you offload onto other people so you can focus on the things that actually add value to your business.
That makes perfect sense. So do you see a difference between from one industry to another, like how long it takes people to get to the messy middle or to get out of it? Are there any industry benchmarks that you've noticed?
Nope. I think what would be more appropriate to say is that a lot of people don't realize they're in the messy middle until they've been in it for a while. What most, a good number of the entrepreneurs that we work with, they're really new to they've never really had a corporate job before. So they don't understand fundamentally all the things that are supposed to happen inside of a business. And so they don't recognize when they are actually in the messy middle. They just think it's normal, and they're thinking that there's something wrong with the way they're running their business and that it's supposed to be that hard, right? And it is truly the hardest transition to get people out of the messy middle. So many people just find themselves stuck there, and that's where they stay. So, figuring out how to move them out of it, but it really is not industry specific. How long you stay there. We have a client right now, been in business for almost 7 years. And she's running it's a $5 million a year business, but she is in the messy middle. And she's just invested in like a 9-month plan to get her out of it, and is having to put in a lot of extra work, but she's committed to getting to the other side of it. And, 5 million might sound like that's financial freedom, but it's not if you've got to pay employees and you've got a warehouse space and you've got all these things, right? So it really has nothing to do with the money as much as it has to do with like how much you're actually able to take home at the end of the year.
Do you guys help with, I know a big problem with trying to go to the next level in delegating to people is hiring the right people. I know a lot of small businesses don't have the resources to hire somebody, wait for 3 or 4 months for them to be effective, and then get rid of them and then try to find a new person. Like, what do you recommend to people that are in that position?
Well, there's kind of 2 parts to that, the answer there. The first is, by and large, people who are entrepreneurs, who are small business owners, are control freaks, and they don't like giving up control. And that's the one thing that most people have to get comfortable with, is handing it over to somebody else and understanding that it's going to be done differently It might not be done to the same standards. It could be done better. Who knows? But it's going to be done differently, and they don't like that. And then the other thing is just hiring people according to your values, your culture, your brand, because that's, for the most part, people can get trained on the job. Of course, there's certifications and schooling and all that a lot of people need, but you can hire people, and if they align with yourself, your brand, your culture, you can train them, and they will turn out to be better employees than some expert or somebody who has the background that you really want, if they don't align with you personally.
I love the conversation about culture, company culture. Corey, I agree with that 100%. Like, if you're going to hire somebody, make sure that they, are going to be comfortable within your company culture. So on that note, the clients that you have, the people that you've worked with, and Corey yourself, just hiring a staff of people in a restaurant. I've been there. It's a nightmare. What's the best recommendation that you have to find the right people that would fit a company culture, or even better, start to create the culture before you start hiring people?
You need to define the culture, and that's building, defining your core values, writing out your mission statement, understanding your value prop, like understanding what it is that your business represents and how people will be a part of that business. So, for instance, in restaurants, for example, part of the allure to the service industry is there's a social aspect to it. So you need to understand that people are, like, you need to build that into the culture and have things outside of work for people to do. In an office setting, people might not want to hang out with each other outside of work. So, forcing people to go to a happy hour after work might be bad for the business. So it's understanding your industry, understanding the type of employee who's going to be attracted to that industry, and then kind of building it out from there.
Yeah, I've never known anybody that works in a restaurant that would turn down a happy hour, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, they have special happy hours for the restaurant industry, don't they? There's like an insider track. Is that correct?
They've got like service industry nights.
Send nights. Yeah.
Yep.
That's one of the perks, though. It really is.
Sweet. So what do you guys, so who's your main focus of, who's the best client for you guys to help? Like, who's the best business that is ready for help?
Have somebody who's actually acknowledges that they need it. So typically for SB Pace, 10 or less employees, been in business, they're usually somewhere between the, 2 to 5 year mark. And so they're making money, but they're not making as much money as they could be making, and they're ready to grow and scale. And they're recognized that it's going to take work to get them there. Like, there's a lot of people who are interested, but they're not committed to making the changes. They're like, I think I want to do it, but they can't make the change.
Right. What do you say to people that would be considering, I don't know, taking a partner to maybe solve that problem?
Oh, that's a good one.
Well, a partner isn't going to solve the problem of being in the messy middle. It depends on what kind of partner you're taking. Are you taking on somebody because you want a capital investment, or are you trying to divide the work? If you're not doing any work on the underlying structure of the business with processes and looking at culture and roles defined, then taking on a partner is not going to get you where you need to go either. I mean, you could end up with a really shitty partner, and that's not going to give you anything.
Yeah, no, that's good advice.
I've been considering doing something similar myself. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of trying to hire somebody. Like everything has to fit the same culture that you were trying to create.
Bill, why would you want to take on a partner? What's your thought process on that? Just out of curiosity.
That's a good question. It's mostly financial and time. Some of the people that I've spoken to over the past couple of years, they will bring clients to the table. That's a financial decision. and pick up part of the slack of, because I'm wearing almost every hat within my company. So having somebody that will try to do some of the work along with me, that'd be a tremendous help. So it's a little bit of both.
I think it's about getting people invested. When you hire people, everybody looks great on paper, at least the people that you actually go to interview. And then when you have an interview with them, you have a process, a rigorous process, and they may pass through that process. But then, what happens oftentimes is as soon as people settle into their job, they kind of settle in, and then you get to really see who they really are. And when you're talking about culture, you're also talking about employee motivations. I've always felt that as a business owner or running a business, it's important to understand what the motivations are of the people that you're working with, and how can you support those motivations, and how can they align with your goals, right? But when I was talking about partner, and then maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, because I've thought about the same way, Bill, is that, hey, if I give this person is invested in the business, maybe they'll actually work really hard for it and help me instead of me pulling them along.
I can tell you firsthand, as of this weekend, that is not the case.
Well, it sounds like we got a story, man. What's going on?
Nothing.
I can tell you firsthand, he's not talking about me.
Yes.
Julie, we all know
many other businesses out there, but yes, it's you would think that investment would give them some sort of motivation, but I mean, it's the person. I've known plenty of business owners who aren't emotionally or physically invested in their own business. And then they wonder why. I mean, they got out of the messy middle, and now they're nowhere to be seen. And their business starts to fail and all of that. And it's like, it's the person. It has nothing to do with whether or not they're a partner or an employee. It's 100% about the person, and if they match, if they work well with your culture and who you are.
It's all correct. There's external factors as well. I've got somebody that I talk to on a regular basis that killer business, but things are starting to slip right now, and I think it's more external factors than the person itself. I think that he has quite a few other things going on, and it's affecting everything altogether.
Yeah,
I guess it'd be helpful if he
people, right?
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to say, when it's a small business, it's all about the people. If you got a small team and the team starts to slip, then, the whole thing can slide. So you got to stay together, stay connected. So what advice do you guys have for people besides hiring you and besides knowing as the first step? What's some other advice? So they know and they realize that they need help. What's the next step?
I don't know. I mean, I just knocked my microphone over. Sorry about that.
Well, yeah, identified that problem. So
yes, exactly. So identify the problems. It's knowing that you need help, and it's start talking to people. I mean, you can talk to anybody in your network, personal or professional networks, to just start seeing, get outside perspective about what's going on within your business, and also go knowing that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to try and sell you their services. So you're going to have to say no a lot of times, and don't be a dick about it, and don't ghost them either. If you're not interested, simply say, I'm not interested. And if they're persistent, then you can be a dick. But we have that problem where we get people all the way to, hey, let's do business together, and then they just disappear. It's like, come on, why did we just spend all of this time working to get to this point, and then you just stop talking to us? Mm-hmm. If you're not interested, just say it up front.
I would say one of the really good things that people can do is, if they recognize that they are, kind of stuck, their revenues have plateaued, they're not growing. Sit down and make a list. This is an exercise that we go through with people when we do a discovery call with them to figure out if it's a good fit, if they're truly in the messy middle, and if we're going to help them get out of it. One of the first things that we ask them is make a list of let's just do a brain dump of tell me everything that you hate about what you're doing right now. Like the tasks that you do, tell me all the ones you hate, right? And the list is generally extraordinarily long for people, but they don't even recognize it because so often as business owners, we tend to think we got to do all the things, right? Small, you got a 1, 2, 3 person shop. You're like, I have to do things I hate. But I mean, do you? If you are in a position where you can start to delegate or you can hire or you can outsource, then you have to look at that stuff because your time has a value as well. Or have the conversation of what can you quit doing? Like what isn't adding value to the bottom line, right? Like you have to quit things along the way. You start something at the beginning of a business and maybe 2 years in, that thing isn't serving you anymore. Quit doing it. And just because you always did it doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. So that's one of the conversations we have. Like how much stuff are you doing on a day-to-day basis that you hate doing? And then what can we do about it?
And understanding the value of your time is very important there. A lot of people have a hard time really understanding what their time is worth to them. And I did this exercise with my brother not too long ago. He's got 3 kids and the oldest one just started playing soccer. And I said, how much, like if you were going to the game and you had to pay to get in to see your son play soccer for an hour, how much would you pay to get in? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, would you pay $100? He's like, yeah. Like $200? Sure. $300? He's like, well, yeah, but I'm like, all right, cool. So we're kind of getting to your time is worth about $300 an hour. And that's where, I mean, that's kind of like a very simple way of putting it, but I mean, like that's like he would pay somebody to do something for $300 so that he could take that hour and spend it with his kid. And that's just like kind of a way that people need to look at things is like, what can you do with your time if you can pay somebody else to do that work that you don't want to do or shouldn't be doing?
100% correct. I'm looking into cutting down some of the services that I pay for that are not being implemented, and some of them are very expensive. So I fully understand that.
Don't you feel great when you do that and you cut all those subscriptions?
Yeah.
It's like going on a diet. You're like, at first you're like, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute. I want to watch that show, but I canceled the subscription. Well, I'll just get that one subscription back that one time. Oh, I'll do this.
Normally I just move on to something else. You can find something else more productive to do. Once you cut the ties with certain things that honestly don't work. Corey and Julie, quick question. Let's give you a couple of minutes. What ideally are you looking for right now? If there's anything that you want to shout out to anybody, anything that you're working on, how can we support your cause right now in any way, shape, or form? I guess customers at Corey's restaurant. Everybody go to Cabo Fish Taco. It's awesome. It's delicious.
No, I need dishwashers, preferably AM dishwashers.
I'll come down to Richmond and hang out with you. All right.
Yeah. So what do we need?
Yeah. What are you guys looking for right now?
Oh, I want to hear Corey's answer to this.
I told you, dishwashers, reliable dishwashers.
Amen to that.
We got to find Felix, buddy.
I know.
We'll ship them down to you.
I got nothing.
You got no. Well, I mean, we're looking for. I mean, we're just looking to connect, to build our network. We've got our podcast, our radio show. Would love to build up that audience there. We have the Biz Quick podcast, which is every Tuesday and Thursday, and the Defeat Chaos radio show every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. on the Voice America Business Channel.
Awesome.
I like your new show. Biz Quicker, I think you called it.
Biz Quicker, that starts the end of June every Thursday. Biz Quicker.
Very cool. What's that
right?
about?
It's just a shorter version of Biz Quick.
Yes.
Biz Quicker.
It's something very similar to this podcast, but they took it and they shortened it. So it's Biz Quicker.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a truncated version.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, I really appreciate you guys coming out on our show. It was a lot of good information. If you're a local business out there and you're trying to, you guys work nationally or locally only?
nationally.
Yeah, so you guys work nationally. So if you're a business and you're looking to get out of that messy middle, go ahead and contact these guys, Julie and Corey. They'll help you do it. And Bill, thanks again, as always, for showing up with me. I guess it's time for us to go to the Olive Garden for drinks. Till next time.
I need some more breadsticks, man, because they're so delicious. They're terrible. Let's be honest.